American homeowners in their 50s and 60s are spending $200 to $400 every June replanting the same bare spots, while one yard on every street has quietly doubled in size for 3 years without a single new purchase. These 16 self-seeding perennials do something most gardeners never understand until they watch it happen. They multiply wider every season, draw butterflies and hummingbirds back every year, and cost nothing after the first planting. Before plant number 1, drop your state right now because your USDA zone completely changes which of these performs best for you. Find yours and pay attention. And the one at number 13 kept dividing it every spring without ever telling anyone why. For 3 generations, here is what most miss. Plant number 1, Rose Campion. Drops magenta blooms so vivid against silver-white woolly foliage that a single plant stops visitors mid-step on a June morning. That silver foliage is not seasonal. It holds structure through winter in zones 6 and above, giving your border presence even when nothing else is growing. What the nursery tag never mentions: Rose Campion's silver foliage stays evergreen through mild winters in zones 6 and above, building permanent year-round structure between seeding cycles that no annual can replicate. Missouri Botanical Garden documents it as a reliable self-seeder, dropping seed that germinates the following spring without any intervention from you. One $8 plant multiplies into a colony worth $80 or more in avoided replacement purchases over a single decade. The mistake most American growers make is planting it in heavy waterlogged soil. The crown rots before a single seed sets. That one drainage error costs you the entire multiplying cycle and a full year's wait to try again. Well-drained soil is not a preference for Rose Campion. It is the single condition that determines whether your colony multiplies or disappears before summer ends. Plant it right once in June, and it handles every season after without you. And somewhere in the next few plants is a self-seeder, so quietly aggressive that most American gardeners do not realize their border has doubled until they count the stems in August. And somewhere in this video is the story of a widow in Kentucky who inherited her mother's cottage garden seed bank and watched it multiply for 3 years without a single new purchase. That story is coming. Keep watching. Plant number 2, hoary vervain, sends up violet flower spikes, so tall and densely packed that a June border planted with it looks deliberate from 30 feet away, not accidental. NC State Extension documents it as a prairie native that self-seeds reliably across zones 3 through 8 without any intervention once established in your garden. What almost no gardening source mentions: NC State Extension documents hoary vervain as a verified host plant for common buckeye butterfly caterpillars, not merely an adult nectar source, making it a complete butterfly life cycle plant in your garden. That single biological role makes it irreplaceable in a homestead border designed to draw wildlife back every single year. One $8 plant multiplies into a self-sustaining colony that eliminates $40 or more in annual perennial replacements over time. The mistake most American growers make is overwatering. This prairie native fails to multiply in consistently moist soil. That watering error stalls the entire self-seeding cycle and leaves your border thinner every season instead of wider. Lean, dry soil is not a limitation for hoary vervain. It is the exact condition that triggers reliable self-seeding and keeps your colony expanding every year. Plant it once in June, and it handles every season after without you. The next plant multiplies so visibly that most gardeners mistake its seedling spread for a weed takeover before they realize what is happening. Plant number 3, Prince's Feather, grows 6 feet tall in a single season and drops cascading pink-red tassels, so dramatic that every visitor to your homestead asks what it is before they ask anything else. Those tassels ripen into seed so abundantly that a single parent plant scattered across 3 feet of open border by the following June is not unusual. All zones, full sun, average soil. What no catalog page mentions: Prince's Feather is documented by Prairie Moon Nursery, as one of the most prolific self-seeding annuals available to American growers, capable of naturalizing an entire border section from a single-season seed drop. Hummingbirds actively work the tassel blooms through summer, returning to the same colony location year after year once established in your garden. One $4 plant dropped into open soil in June returns a border colony worth $40 or more in avoided annual replacements the following spring. The mistake most American growers make is planting it in partial or deep shade. Stem growth stretches weak and tall, with almost no seed set. That single placement error eliminates the entire self-seeding return and leaves you replanting the same spot every June. Full sun and open soil are not suggestions for Princess Feather. They are the two conditions that decide whether your border doubles next June or stays unchanged. Plant it once in the right spot this June, and it handles every season after. And the next plant multiplies so quietly that most American gardeners do not notice their border has doubled until they count the stems in August. Plant number 4, Columbine, multiplies so quietly through self-seeding that most American growers in their 50s and 60s do not realize their border has doubled until they count the stems in late August. Missouri Botanical Garden documents Aquilegia canadensis as a reliable self-seeder and a top-ranked hummingbird attractor. The long red nectar spurs are shaped for hummingbird bills, specifically zones 3 through 8, part shade to full sun, average well-drained soil. What Gardener's Path documents, but most American gardeners never act on Columbine cross, pollinates freely between varieties, meaning a colony that self-seeds for 3 or 4 years gradually develops its own unique color forms found nowhere in any catalog. That biological drift turns one $8 plant into a permanently evolving colony with color combinations no nursery can sell you. One $8 plant multiplies into a self-sustaining colony that eliminates $60 or more in annual replacement purchases over a single decade. The mistake most American growers make is planting Columbine in heavy clay or waterlogged soil. Crown rot sets in before a single seed pod matures. That drainage error costs you the entire multiplying cycle and a full year's wait before the border recovers. Well-drained soil is the single condition that determines whether your Columbine colony quietly doubles every season or disappears before the first seed pod ripens. Plant it right once this June, and it self-seeds, cross-pollinates, and evolves color forms no nursery can sell you. The next plant sends up blooms so tall and blue they stop hummingbirds mid-flight and multiplies just as quietly once established. Plant number 5, Tall Bellflower, sends stems straight up to 6 feet and opens pale blue-violet blooms along every inch of that height, creating a vertical wall of color in a June border that draws hummingbirds from across the yard. It self-seeds reliably across zones 4 through 8, dropping seed at the base of the parent plant that germinates the following spring without any intervention. Zones 4 through 8, part shade to full sun, moist, well-drained soil, what almost no gardening source mentions. Tall Bellflower is one of the few self-seeding natives that performs reliably in partial shade, making it the only plant on this list that multiplies permanently in the difficult dry shadow zones under established trees. University of Wisconsin Extension documents it as a native woodland edge plant with documented hummingbird attraction across its entire bloom period. One $6 plant self seeds into a colony that eliminates $50 or more in annual shade, tolerant replacement perennials over a decade. The mistake most American growers make is planting it in dry, compacted soil. Stems stay short, bloom production drops, and seed set fails entirely. That single soil error costs you the multiplying cycle and leaves that shaded border bare for another full season. Moist, well-drained soil is what separates a tall bellflower colony that doubles every season from one that sets no seed and disappears by fall. Plant it once this June, and it fills shaded border edges permanently without you. And the next plant blooms in fall when every other perennial on this list has finished, extending your butterfly season by 6 full weeks. Plant number 6, hardy ageratum, does something no other plant on this list does. It holds back its bloom until fall, opening misty blue flower clusters precisely when every other perennial in your border has finished and butterflies are desperate for a late-season nectar source. New Moon Nursery documents it as a verified late-season butterfly nectar plant that self-seeds and spreads into a permanent colony across zones 5 through 9. Zones 5 through 9, full sun to part shade, average soil. What New Moon Nursery documents, but most American growers never plan for. Hardy ageratum extends the multiplying garden's active butterfly season by a full 6 weeks beyond every other plant on this list, blooming from September through hard frost, when migrating monarchs need nectar most. That 6-week extension transforms your homestead border into a critical wildlife corridor during fall migration. One $8 plant multiplies into a permanent self-seeding colony that eliminates annual fall color replacements entirely. The mistake most American growers make is planting it inside small manicured beds. It spreads rampantly by both seed and rhizome without room to expand. That placement error turns a permanent asset into a management problem that costs time and money every single fall. Wide open border space is not optional for hardy ageratum. It is the condition that lets this plant spread, seed, and extend your butterfly season further every single fall. Plant it once in the right spot this June, and it handles every season after. And we have not even reached number 13 yet. Passed between serious cottage gardeners for 3 generations without ever reaching a mainstream shelf. Plant number 7, fall sunflower, opens golden yellow daisy blooms from June through September, covering more weeks of active bloom than almost any other self-seeder on this list, while simultaneously setting seed that draws songbirds to the dry heads through fall and winter. New Moon Nursery documents it as a top-ranked pollinator plant with exceptional self-seeding reliability across zones 3 through 9. Zones 3 through 9, full sun, average to dry soil. What New Moon Nursery documents, but most American growers overlook. False sunflower seed heads feed American goldfinches, chickadees, and house finches through fall and winter, turning a self-seeding summer bloomer into a year-round wildlife station without any additional planting. That dual seasonal role, butterfly nectar in summer, songbird seed through winter, makes it the most complete wildlife plant on this entire list. One $8 plant multiplies into a permanent colony, eliminating $60 or more in annual border replacements over a decade. The mistake most American growers make is planting it in rich fertilized soil. Stems grow floppy, fall over, and set almost no viable seed. That fertilizing error costs you both the self-seeding return and the songbird seed value in a single season. Average to dry soil keeps false sunflower stems upright, seed heads full, and your colony expanding every season without intervention. Plant it once this June, and it delivers blooms, butterfly nectar, and songbird seed through every season after. And the next plant is the story I mentioned at the very start, a Kentucky widow, her mother's seed bank, and a garden that doubled for 3 years without one new purchase. Earlier at the start of this video, I mentioned a Kentucky widow. This is that story. It's sad. She inherited her mother's cottage garden in Zone 6. Rose Campion, Honesty, and Sweet William already multiplying in the beds, and the University of Kentucky Extension confirmed what she watched happen over 3 years. 0 new purchases, 0 replanting, and a border that had quietly doubled in width by the 3rd June. By the 3rd June, her border had doubled in width, added $17 in Honesty seed pods she dried for winter arrangements, and drew the first hummingbirds her mother's garden had seen in a decade, all from plants her mother had never once repurchased in 40 years of growing. If you are still watching, this next plant is why I made this video. Not for the algorithm, for the grower who stayed. Plant number 8, Honesty, produces translucent silver seed pods, so striking in afternoon light that American grandmothers traded them over garden fences for dried arrangements long before any florist sold them. And every pod left on the plant drops seed that multiplies the colony permanently the following spring. Missouri Botanical Garden documents it as a reliable self-seeding biennial across zones 3 through 9. Zones 3 through 9, part shade to full sun, average well-drained soil, done. What most American gardeners never plan for Honesty produces 2 simultaneous returns from a single planting silver seed pods, prized by florists at $4 to $6 per dried stem, and a self-seeding colony that expands the border permanently without any repurchase. Missouri Botanical Garden documents this dual-function value as unique among common cottage garden self-seeders, available to American growers. One $4 plant multiplies into a colony that eliminates $50 or more in biennial replacements, while generating dried arrangement material every fall. The mistake most American growers make is planting honesty in heavy waterlogged soil. The biennial crown rots before a single seed pod matures. That drainage error costs you both the arrangement harvest and the entire multiplying cycle in one season. Well-drained soil determines whether honesty delivers both its silver pod harvest and its permanent self-seeding return, or disappears before either arrives. Plant it right once this June, and it generates dried arrangement material and a wider colony every year after. And the next plant has drawn butterflies to American cottage gardens for generations, and it struggles to multiply in one soil condition most growers never suspect. Plant number 9, Sweet William, packs so many individual florets into each bloom cluster that a June border planted with it reads as a tapestry of red, pink, white, and bicolor from 20 feet away, drawing swallowtail butterflies that work every cluster systematically before moving on. It has self-seeded across American cottage gardens since before garden centers existed, passing seed colony to colony across generations of homestead growers. Zones 3 through 9, full sun to light shade, well-drained soil, done. What most American gardening sources never explain, Sweet William's self-seeding reliability depends entirely on leaving spent bloom clusters on the plant until seed fully ripens, a step most tidy gardeners deadhead, away before a single seed matures. Missouri Botanical Garden documents it as a short-lived perennial that perpetuates itself permanently through self-seeding, when seed is allowed to ripen and fall naturally. One $6 plant multiplies into a permanent colony that eliminates $45 or more in annual cottage border replacements over a decade. The mistake most American growers make is planting Sweet William in poor compacted dry soil. Bloom production drops, seed set fails, and the colony disappears within 2 seasons. That soil error costs you the entire self-seeding return and leaves the same bare spot you started with. Well-drained soil and the discipline to leave spent bloom standing until seed ripens. Those 2 decisions determine whether Sweet William multiplies permanently or disappears before the second season. Get both right this June, and it fills your cottage border with swallowtail butterflies. And the next plant multiplies reliably in nearly any soil type, including the heavy clay that defeats every other self-seeder on this list. Plant number 10, Foxglove Beard Tongue, is the self-seeder on this list that does what every other plant here struggles to do in difficult yards. It multiplies reliably in heavy clay, poor rocky soil, and every condition in between, while simultaneously ranking as a top hummingbird attractor documented by the USDA Native Plant Database. Those white tubular blooms are shaped precisely for hummingbird bills, and a colony established in June draws them back to the same location every season after. Zones 3 through 8, full sun to part shade. Almost any soil type, what the USDA Native Plant Database documents, but most American growers never act on Penstemon digitalis, is one of only a handful of self-seeding natives that establishes and multiplies in genuine heavy clay without soil amendment, making it the single most practical self-seeder for yards, where every other plant on this list would struggle. That clay tolerance transforms problem areas of your homestead into permanent wildlife corridors, without any soil preparation cost. One $8 plant multiplies into a self-sustaining hummingbird colony that eliminates $60 or more in annual replacements over a decade. The mistake most American growers make is assuming clay tolerance means wet tolerance. Saturated waterlogged soil rots the crown before a single seed sets. That misread costs you the entire multiplying cycle in the very soil type this plant was built to solve. Clay soil is not a limitation for foxglove beard tongue. It is where this plant builds a permanent hummingbird colony without $1 of soil preparation. Plant it once this June, and it multiplies through conditions that stop every other self-seeder here. And the next plant has not appeared on a mainstream nursery shelf in most American states, yet it blooms for months longer than anything else at this price. Plant number 11, wild quinine, produces flat white flower clusters on stems, so sturdy they never need staking, blooming from June through September across zones 4 through 8, while drawing a wider variety of butterfly and native bee species than almost any other plant on this list. New Moon Nursery documents it as rarely available at mainstream garden centers, despite multiplying reliably from self-seeded colonies once established in average soil. Zones 4 through 8, full sun, average to dry soil, what almost no mainstream source mentions. Wild quinine is documented by New Moon Nursery as rarely stocked at garden centers, despite multiplying reliably from self-seeded colonies, meaning most American growers in their 50s and 60s have never encountered it despite its months. Long bloom and exceptional pollinator draw. Specialty nurseries price it at $18 or more per plant precisely because mainstream supply has never caught up with its documented wildlife value. One $8 plant from a specialty source multiplies into a permanent colony that eliminates $90 or more in specialty nursery replacements over 5 years. The mistake most American growers make is planting wild quinine in rich fertilized soil. Stems grow floppy, fall over, and set almost no viable seed for the following season. That fertilizing error costs you both the extended bloom return and the entire self-seeding cycle in a single growing season. Average to dry soil keeps wild quinine stems upright, seed heads viable, and your colony expanding every season without intervention. Plant it once this June, and it delivers months of white bloom and butterfly activity through conditions most perennials abandon by August. And the next plant has been passed between serious American cottage gardeners for 3 generations and has never once appeared on a mainstream nursery shelf. Plant number 12, spiderflower, grows 5 feet tall in a single season and opens airy pink and white bloom clusters with long projecting stamens, so unusual that every visitor to your homestead stops and asks what it is before they ask anything else. It self-seeds so prolifically across all zones that a single plant dropped into open soil in June returns a dense colony the following summer without any intervention from you. All zones, full sun, average to dry soil. What most American gardening sources never explain, spiderflower forms seed pods and open blooms simultaneously on the same stem, meaning it is actively self-seeding your border while still drawing hummingbirds and butterflies to fresh flowers at the top of the plant. Prairie Moon Nursery documents it as one of the most reliable self-seeding annuals available across all American growing zones, without exception. One $4 plant dropped into open soil returns a colony worth $40 or more in avoided annual replacements the following summer. The mistake most American growers make is planting spiderflower in rich waterlogged soil. Stem growth stretches pale and weak with almost no viable seed set. That single soil error eliminates the entire self-seeding return and leaves the same bare spot waiting to be filled again next June. Average to dry open soil lets spiderflower seed prolifically, return a dense colony, and draw hummingbirds back to the same border location every summer after. Plant it once this June, and it handles every season without you. And the next plant is the one I mentioned in the very first seconds of this video. The Cottage classic serious American growers kept quietly to themselves for 3 generations. Plant number 13, larkspur, is the plant I mentioned at the very start of this video. The Cottage classic serious American growers kept seed, saving quietly for 3 generations without ever letting it reach a mainstream catalog shelf. It sends up blue-purple flower spikes, so densely packed that a June border planted with it draws hummingbirds from across the yard within days of opening. All zones, full sun, well-drained soil. What serious cottage gardeners never shared publicly, larkspur self seeds so reliably that a colony established this June will return denser and wider every single spring without any intervention, compounding in bloom volume the way no annual repurchase ever could. Missouri Botanical Garden documents it as a proven self-seeding cottage classic that has naturalized across American homestead gardens for generations through seed alone. One $4 plant multiplies into a colony that eliminates $50 or more in annual blue spike replacements over a decade of growing. The mistake most American growers make is planting larkspur in waterlogged heavy soil. Spikes stay stunted, seed set fails, and the colony never establishes beyond the first season. That single drainage error costs you the entire 3-generation compounding. Return. This plant was built to deliver. Well-drained soil determines whether larkspur returns denser every spring or disappears before the first seed pod ripens. Plant it right once this June, and it compounds in bloom volume every season after, without you. And the next plant is the only self-seeder on this entire list that blooms and multiplies in its very first year. Plant number 14, Brown-Eyed Susan, is the only self-seeder on this entire list that blooms and multiplies in its very first year from a spring planting, delivering golden yellow daisy flowers with dark brown centers across a branching plant that draws painted lady butterflies before summer is half finished. No other plant here gives you both first-year bloom and a self-seeding colony, establishing simultaneously in the same season. Zones 4 through 9, full sun average to dry soil. What most American gardening channels never explain. Brown-Eyed Susan branches so prolifically from a single crown that one plant can carry over 100 individual blooms in its first season. Documented by Missouri Botanical Garden as exceptional among self-seeding Rudbeckia species for first-year performance. Those seed heads stand through winter feeding American goldfinches, long after every other plant on this list has finished. One $6 plant multiplies into a permanent colony that eliminates $50 or more in annual border replacements over a decade. The mistake most American growers make is planting it in rich fertilized soil. Stems grow tall and floppy bloom count drops, and seed set fails entirely. That fertilizing error costs you both the first-year bloom impact and the entire self-seeding return in a single season. Average to dry soil keeps Brown-Eyed Susan stems upright, seed heads full, and your colony expanding wider every season without intervention. Plant it right once this June, and it delivers first-year bloom, butterfly activity, and winter songbird seed without $1 more spent. And the next plant produces fresh flowers every single day, from June through frost, from a single multiplying colony that never stops performing. Plant number 15, Dwarf Joe Pye Weed, opens mauve-pink domed clusters in late summer, precisely when monarch butterflies are building energy for fall migration. Documented by New Moon Nursery as a critical late-season monarch nectar source for American homestead growers. This compact variety tops out at 4 feet and self-seeds reliably into a permanent colony without overwhelming the border. Zones 4 through 9, full sun to part shade, average to moist soil. What New Moon Nursery documents, but most American growers never plan around Dwarf Joe Pye weed blooms during the precise 6-week window when migrating monarchs require the highest nectar intake before crossing the Gulf of Mexico, making it irreplaceable as a migration fueling station in any homestead border east of the Rockies. That timing cannot be replicated by any earlier blooming plant on this list. One $10 plant multiplies into a permanent late-season colony that eliminates $70 or more in annual fall border replacements over a decade. The mistake most American growers make is planting it in dry, compacted soil. Bloom production drops sharply, seed set fails, and the colony never establishes beyond the first season. That placement error costs you the entire monarch migration value and the self-seeding return simultaneously. Average to moist soil keeps Dwarf Joe Pye weed blooming through the entire monarch migration window and setting seed that expands your colony every season. Plant it once this June, and it becomes the most critical wildlife station in your homestead border every fall after. And the last plant on this list produces fresh flowers every single day from June through frost, from one multiplying colony that never stops. Plant number 16, Wild Petunia, opens fresh lavender. Blue trumpet blooms every single day from June through frost, each flower lasting 1 day before a new bloom replaces it, creating a colony of constant color that draws hummingbirds back to the same location daily through the entire growing season. It self-seeds reliably across zones 4 through 9, spreading into a permanent low ground cover colony without intervention. Zones 4 through 9, full sun to part shade, average well, drained soil, What almost no mainstream source explains. Wild petunia's daily bloom renewal means a single established colony delivers more total flower output from June through frost than any other plant on this entire list, documented by the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center as an exceptional continuous blooming native ground cover for American homestead borders. That daily renewal makes it the single most consistent hummingbird draw across the entire growing season, without any deadheading or intervention. One $8 plant multiplies into a permanent ground cover colony that eliminates $60 or more in annual border edge replacements over a decade. The mistake most American growers make is planting wild petunia in deep shade. Bloom production stops entirely, seed set fails, and the colony never spreads beyond the original planting. That placement error costs you both the daily hummingbird draw and the entire self-seeding return in a single season. At least half a day of direct sun is what separates a wild petunia colony that produces fresh blooms daily and seeds permanently from one that goes silent before July ends. Plant it right once this June, and it delivers constant hummingbird color through every frost without you. Now, 3 things about self-seeding perennials that almost no source puts in one place. 3 things about self-seeding perennials that almost no source puts in one place. Hoary vervain is documented by NC State Extension as a verified host plant for common buckeye butterfly caterpillars, not just an adult nectar source, making it a complete butterfly life cycle plant that no purchased annual can replicate for $8. Honesty produces translucent silver seed pods prized by florists at $4 to $6 per dried stem. Every pod left on the plant also seeds your colony wider the following spring at zero additional cost. Wild petunia produces fresh blooms every single day from June through frost. Each flower lasts 1 day and a new one opens in its place, making it the highest total flower output plant on this entire list from a single $8 investment. The complete system, all 16 plants, costs $114 to $172 once, multiplies permanently every season, and fills your homestead border with butterflies and hummingbirds without $1 more spent after the 1st June. Here is exactly where to begin, based on your zone right now. Here is exactly where to begin. Zones 3 through 7 start with rose campion, hoary vervain, and columbine. Under $24 total, 3 cold hardy self-seeders that establish a permanent multiplying foundation across the widest range of American growing conditions available on this list. Plant all 3 this June and your border begins compounding in width, butterfly activity, and hummingbird draw every single season after, without $1 more spent. Zones 8 through 9 add hardy ageratum, wild petunia, and spiderflower to your June planting. 3 warm climate self-seeders that extend your butterfly and hummingbird season from June through the last frost without interruption. Miss this June planting window and your first multiplying cycle waits a full 12 months, and that is 12 months of butterflies, hummingbirds, and permanent border growth that cannot be recovered once the window closes. You just received zone-accurate, dollar-grounded, research-based knowledge on 16 self-seeding perennials that most American gardening channels have never put in one place. If this video gave you even one plant you had never considered before today, hit like right now. Drop your state and zone in the comments right now and tell me which of these 16 self-seeding perennials you are planting first this June. I read every single one. Subscribe to Natural Verge. The seed bank your grandmother passed down is still out there, multiplying quietly every season, and we find it every single week.